Right, I guess good afternoon everybody. My name's Ian Thomas. I'm the Department Manager of what is now known as Lloyds Register Consulting. I'll give you a bit of history about that in a minute. But yeah, I'm the Department Manager here in Aberdeen, Lloyds Register Consulting. I work primarily in the consulting sector. I've been in oil and gas for I've been in Aberdeen for about 12 years now. But prior to coming to Aberdeen, I've worked in the electronics, pharmaceuticals, brewing industries, food processing, quite a range. But for the last 12 years, pretty much oil and gas. What I'm going to do, I was told I had about 40 minutes, so we'll see how we get on with this, maybe shorter or longer. But what I'm going to do is, this is the agenda for the next 20 minutes or so. I've been asked to really give a presentation on how we apply, I guess, the principles of quality management in our day-to-day lives, the business that we work in. So that's compared with the processes, procedures, policies that you guys have probably all been studying. So we'll have a look at how we, what our job is about within the context of drilling. We do work further afield, right through exploration, drilling, production, right into decommissioning. So I'll probably stray a little bit, but I'll try and keep it on course with the drilling. What we'll do, we'll just drop down through this stuff. I'll just introduce the company because it is wider than Lloyds Register Consulting, and you'll see how we fit in. I'll give you a quick kind of heads up on it is the services we provide, but it's also they're also component parts that interact with quality management. Then we'll have a look at just a quick reminder why we need quality management, and in this context, I take it in its widest sense, QHSE. It's all completely interrelated. Then I'll talk about where we come in as a business, that's Lloyds Register, but also Lloyds Register Consulting. We'll drop down right into the supply chain, because what you'll see within drilling or any aspect of oil and gas, it's made up of a massive supply chain. I guess when I first came to Aberdeen, I expected, I'd worked with big companies that you go to Mitsubishi and that's it. But here, when I first came here, I was put into Britannia Operator Limited, and I couldn't really get the concept into my head that this was just like a virtual business with all these interfaces that need to be managed. And that, I guess, is what I'll be talking about primarily here. Then what we'll do is I'll go through the family album, I guess, and just talk about some of the projects that we've worked on around the world. I'll round up with, I guess, the approach to audit. We use the standard 19011 process, and it fits all eventualities, I guess. And we'll have a look quickly at recent developments which take us into the management of, for us, it's environmentally critical elements. So there's quite a lot to cover, but I'll rattle through it anyway. Who are we? I guess, first and foremost, the business is a charity. We have a charitable vision. To fund that charity, there's I guess the commercial entities, and that's where I come in. I'm fully focused on commerce, 100%. Across the business, we provide, I guess, it's independent assurance and expert advice to companies operating the high-risk, capital-intensive businesses. That's the overview of, I guess, who Lloyds Register are. The business part that I work for is Lloyds Register Consulting. As I said, I've been here for about 12 years. Lloyds Register, we always did some consulting, but it wasn't really on a great competitive footing. So what we've actually done is we've bought a company called ScanPower and a bunch of other companies and melded them to provide I guess a bespoke, a proper standalone consultancy business, a risk management consultancy. We've got about, within the LR Consulting, we've got about 400 employees around the world, 4 offices in the UK. We've got offices in the usual places: Houston, Singapore, China, etc. You'll see from the, what do you call it, the logos here, we're in the process of rebranding. We are now, as of the 1st of July, we are 100% LR Consulting. And we sit within the energy stream of the bigger Lloyds registered group, and there's about 10,000 of us around the world. Not as big as Wood Group, obviously, but but a substantial size business. Getting back to where I work, the Lloyds Registered Consulting. These are the typical services that we provide across the business. Now, I work, my core area, I guess, is management systems and audit, but we also interface with the guys that are involved with the safety case support, the technical safety, the QRAs, the hazards, the HAZOPs, etc., the compliance assessments. This is all about real life quality out there, on the shop floor, if you like, taking you right into the human factors and the working environment. So that's all the organisational stuff, the leadership stuff, the communications. It's all part of that I guess that quality package. So I guess that's who we are, and very quickly what we're about, I suppose. Now onto the kind of main part of the talk. Just to set the scene, we've been asked to talk about quality and drilling. So before we get into this, I've trying to kind of ask the question, why do we need quality in the first place? Well, the headlines in recent times, I'm not going to read this stuff, but you can see it for yourself. There's the Fukushima disaster, obviously the Deepwater Horizon. Interestingly enough, we were actually doing a safety culture maturity assessment weeks before this happened. I'm not going to say much anything about it, except to say that you can probably find our executive summary on the internet. That is in the public domain. But I think what we'll find, this is still going through the courts at the moment, but there will be quality issues in here. Did people identify the hazards at the high level? Were people competent? Were things communicated in a coherent manner? These are all part of the quality package. So we'll find out in due course. Again, more recently, the gas leak. I never thought I'd be quoting the Daily Mail, by the way, but it was a quick look on the internet. These are topical issues, and this is, these are all quality related somehow. So that, I guess, is the backdrop, the need, why we're doing this stuff. We want to keep people safe. We want to keep things reliable. We want to prevent environmental issues. And, the latest one, the indicators are all pointing towards human factors at the minute. That's just a subset of the quality package. We don't know what the reasons are yet. Nobody knows, but that's a subset. Right, so that's the backdrop, I guess. Where do we come in? I've talked about some of the kind of services, but within the whole kind of life cycle of the exploration and production, life cycle, we come in right from the design, at the feed stage, right through the commissioning, right into operation, right into, well, the latest thing at the minute with the aging assets is asset life extension. We'll be in there, right into the decommission. So we'll be right across. And that's kind of represented a little bit by this, this slide. So we work right across, you know, from the initial concepts. I mean, we're working right now in the office. I mean, Mariner, and God, you can probably reel off the big projects that are coming up at the moment. But these things a lot of these things are still on the drawing board right now, and we are in there. In fact, we're developing ECEs right now for Premier Oil right in the Falklands. You know, right in at the early stage, identifying the hazards, the issues, before they actually get the operational controls in place. So you can see on that previous slide, you know, oops, sorry a minute. You know, we get in right at the start. But if we just cut forward a bit to the focus on drilling, well, I guess it's where to start on drilling. I mean, these guys all have a different viewpoint on this. For us, as I've said, we can come at this from a number of angles, whether it's helping the clients identify the issues, or in many cases, we spend a lot of times certifying or verifying, you know, auditing the operators. And regardless of where we are on that, I think one of the common areas, or the common factors, is that there's just, you'll see by this kind of messy diagram, there are just so many interfaces to manage. If you just go back to what I said about Britannia when I first came here, I just had no clue that, well, if you take it to its extreme, you can have 3 guys with a license, 3 or 4 guys with a license for acreage. They get their, they hire their duty holder, I guess. They hire their drilling company, etc. There's just a massive supply chain that these guys have to manage. Yeah. I mean, you can see on here, you know, you've got the, I guess the operator managing the drill company. Is that through an intermediate company, or do they manage them direct? You've got the drilling contractor. You've got the cementing guys. You've got a whole range of. You've got these guys, archers. They all need to be managed in some way, and that all comes back to communicating the message through some sort of, they call it an interface document, but it's effectively a quality plan. And I guess that's where we spend a lot of time trying to help these guys. So we can do it in a number of ways. You know, we can help these guys. Well, for Enquest right now, we're helping them with their management system, and that includes, you know, I guess a scrub up of the policies, the standards that they work to, the mandatory procedures, you know, required by whatever standard it is, you know, whether it's OSAS or 14001, for the identification and prioritization of their, you call it their environmental aspects or their safety risks, whatever it is. All of this stuff has to be addressed, and that is what we're doing just now for at least one company right now. And you can see on there, you know, it takes you right through the whole thing. The leadership, the roles, responsibilities, the authorities, the training, the whole 9 yards. And what I'll do in a minute, because this is, I guess, a bit abstract, I'll actually take you through a few, what do you call it, case studies, and that'll show you exactly what I mean. Here we go, case study. Drilling, not a typical drill floor. In fact, this is not a drill floor at all. This is a drill cuttings plant up in Peterhead. We actually did the PPC permit for this company. What did we do? If you think about this slide here, what did we do for them and how does it fit? Just look at how they align. You'll see it in a second. What did we do? We identified, so we characterised, we identified, we assessed, we identified the compliance requirements and then helped them with the operational controls and all of the, I guess the feedback items as well, which is your monitoring, your auditing, your reviews, etc. And that helped. This whole quality piece supported their PPC permit, which allows them to operate. So that's one example of quality in action, I guess. Another example of quality in action. This is out in Sakhalin. I managed to avoid this one, but I think 2 or 3 people from our office used to certify MI SWACO on their drilling activities out in this part of the world. And you can see, you mentioned Derek McLean earlier. I think even Derek got out here. Yeah, you can see, we provided the 14001 certification for these operations, and that's like a rolling program, 6 month visit over a rolling program of 3 years. And I mean, I guess the whole point of the certificate that these guys have is to ensure that they maintain their commitments, which is, in this case, it's compliance with legal requirements, prevention of pollution, and obviously the ongoing continual improvement. So we are there making sure that they do it. Most of that work's actually done, not by us, but it's done by LRQA. One project that I did work on, it's quite a broad one actually, it was out in Saudi Arabia. We actually helped these guys get 14001 management system right across, I think it was clearly drilling with production, but we also had to deal with, you'll see it in a second, quite a large site there, which it's not a great picture, but we actually had all the municipal activities on there as well. So we had hospitals, wastewater treatment plants, the whole lot. We can actually see by the list there, what the scope of this management system actually took in and included drilling. So we were there. What did we do for these guys? Back to the spirit again. Again, we identified the key aspects, the compliance requirements, Saudi law in this case, helped to dovetail them so that they could come up with control measures to ensure that they complied with the local requirements. And you can see there's a whole lot of other support stuff in there as well, the training, the competency, the awareness, and all that adds up to this quality stuff that I talked about. More recently, in fact probably after deep water, there was a bit of a rush on the telephone. People looking more at, I guess, more traditional quality, really looking at the supply chain here. One large client asked us to look at their supply chain for, I guess, the suppliers of subsea equipment. So that's the manufacture, the maintenance, and the rental of kit like this, the BOP, Christmas trees, and other rental tools. And this took us away from what Lloyds normally do. Lloyds normally, I guess, in simple terms, sit at the end of the line and they certify, well, is this up to spec? That's fine, great. They've done that for years. But here, we're looking at the whole quality assurance program. Is the management of change in place? That's organisational change, engineering change, authorization changes, all of that stuff, just to support, to ensure that when these things go out, when they leave the factory, not only are they FAT tested, but you can be assured that there's a whole management system there that's working to ensure they get this thing out first time, first go. We've done other stuff. We do a lot of rig acceptance audits for Moduspec. These are just glorified vendor, third-party vendor audits. Really, is the equipment and I guess the personnel up to speed? How do we do that? We go in and test the management system and the interface arrangements around it. We've done other stuff. One of the biggest audits that we actually did was the merger between Acergy and Subsea 7. When I drove up to Subsea 7, I saw one building. I thought, that's pretty big. And then I saw the other three. That was quite a significant audit we did. But the whole point of that, again, was they wanted to assure themselves that when their vessels go out, they can be assured that they're going to deliver to their clients on time, on budget, etc. So we wanted to make sure the guys were competent. They'd done all their hazard identification. All the planning was tip-top. I guess this is another picture from Sakhalin, I think. So we've probably said enough about that. But yeah, we work in some odd environments. Where's Hilary? This is a slide from Walker Technical. This is a bit of a weird audit that we did. This is more looking at this is a pipe repair. What is there to audit there? It works. Yeah, fine, okay. But what about the competency of the guys? What about have they identified the client needs? The working environment that this thing's going to operate in. So Hilary asked us, and her team asked us to look at this and certify not only the bit of kit, but the process, the assurance process that sits around that, so that will work in cold temperatures, it will work in Algeria, it will work wherever. I said at the very start of this presentation, we use pretty much we use the 19,011 method. It's robust but flexible enough to be used for just about any scenario, as long as you apply the brain. It's the normal stuff. It's a two-stage approach in simple terms. Stage one is really just the document review and the planning. So you're actually planning out your campaign, your attack. What do you want to see? Who do you want to speak to? All of that stuff. What times you want to do it? The logistics. You've seen that there are some odd parts of the world that we go to. Physically, how do you get to these places? We need visas, we need vaccinations, all of that stuff needs to be thought about before we can land on the deck. In fact, the first time I went to do an audit, I had an audit program that was probably busier than this. You just can't do it when you go offshore. It's like, wait a minute, we've got our inductions, we've got our walk-arounds, we've got this, we've got that, the OIM's busy. You've got to pace yourself. So there's a lot of planning before you end up on deck. I don't know how many times the phone rings in the office and it's like, can you come and do an audit this afternoon? No. Why not? Well, we're not prepared. There is not a good mentality around that. There's a bit of education needed. So anyway, so we use this, and once we've sent this back to the clients, they then understand that there's a bit more to auditing than just coming in and ticking a box. So it's certainly a good approach, and if any of you haven't got the 19,011 standard, I think you should definitely get it. What are we looking at these days? Well, I guess after Deepwater Horizon, been a lot of stuff. Our group work, I guess, principally on the environmental side. We do have safety, as you've seen a second ago, but our focus has, for historical reasons, kind of been on the environment. And well, since the Gulf, there's been a lot of letters to industry from DEC, and this has kind of culminated in a requirement for operators to identify and manage their environmentally critical elements, very similar and analogous to SCs, safety critical elements. Anyway, the guidance came out in October last year. We were all frantically trying to second guess the regulator before this came out. Anyway, it came out in October. This is our interpretation of the guidance, and you know, I'm not going to do it, but if you skip back to the start of this presentation, you would see that this is all about characterising the business, identifying the issues, the aspects, or the hazards, prioritising, identifying the compliance requirements, etc., and coming out with down here, which is very much quality assurance. So here's your controls, here's your verification support, your audit support, etc., and the whole cycle. It's the usual plan, do, check, act cycle, but in a different kind of guise. That's all it is. And this applies to this now applies right across drilling and production. So that's kind of what's on our plate at the moment. I guess, when this first came out, we kind of had some early steps with companies like Enquest, BP with BP Kazan, where they needed to identify their ECEs for a desert facility, and now we're doing the same for the Falkland Islands for Premier. So it's kind of ramping up, but this is kind of where we are at the moment, certainly in our office, and the application of quality to drilling in everyday life. Here you can actually see it in, away from the abstract, if you like. You can see it here. We've tried to use the kind of safety talk here, the safety sort of process. But you've got your prevent, detect, control, the mitigate, and then the respond. And you will see our first stab at this was just the usual quality approach. But then we had to, I guess, moderate the language so that the clients, the drilling guys and the production guys could actually understand what we're on about. I think we've achieved that now. But you can see in here the usual things. Within maintenance of equipment, you must have a maintenance philosophy and everything that sits around that, the verification scheme, etc. Then you've got the controls and the whole plan, do, check, act cycle. So I think that was quite a blast through. We've had a quick look at who we are. The supply chain, it is a monster. It's something that is quite difficult to get the head around. But when we go out to clients now, I won't say who it is, but we audited a company the other day. They wanted us to go and look at lifting operations on their contractor's asset. Okay, fine, we'll do that. How have you communicated your requirements to them? Well, we haven't very well, and that's exactly what we found. And when we put that to these guys, it was, well, do you expect us to give you kind of line items? Yes. Wood Group do it quite nicely. Hummingbird, you can see the interface documents, very good. But so there's still a bit to learn, from some of these guys that are out there about helping the contractors identify the client needs. That's like rule number one in the ISO 9001. Identify client needs. If you haven't done that, how are you going to achieve the rest? It still baffles me sometimes. Anyway, there'll be questions at the end, but if anybody wants to ask me anything about approach, qualifications, methods, especially the issue about checklists. We find people, checklists are fine, but we've had people in our office spend weeks writing preset questions. Chuck them in the bin. All right, thanks very much.